important new conspiracy law. Church of Gail City set up worldwide. The homeless will be trained to be farmers. Those who'd like to join Church of Gail to qualify to live in a Church of Gail City, contact my men at gailsmen@yahoo.com. I hear that once we have these set up worldwide, we're really going to go after the Laurie McBride Jesuits among us, arrest them, and weed them out. It'll be easier once we separate from them, and they can't use infiltration among us to cause problems. Only Church of Gail members can live in a Church of Gail City. Absolutely no Laurie McBride Jesuits or dangerous narcissists can live in a Church of Gail City. Anybody who willingly and knowingly allows a dangerous narcissist to live in a Church of Gail City will get the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator. Narcissists will ruin these cities and destroy them so they are not allowed to live in these cities. If we're attacked while building these cities, the nation in which the attack occurs will be put under martial law, and will use the military to arrest and deal with any and all willing and knowing Laurie McBride Jesuits or narcissists who cause problems, possibly resulting in immediate execution of these dangerous people. Anyone who willingly and knowingly arrests or executes someone who is not a Laurie McBride or George Soros Jesuit or narcissist while we are under martial law in order to violate conspiracy law during this time will get the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator. We will not impinge on the freedoms of innocence while under martial law. With our brain and emotion reads, we can easily distinguish between innocents and those who are dangerous narcissists. So I'm going to read you what I've been writing Brent this week. I told him I'd love to have my own laundry room. He asked me what kind of house I'd like to live in. A large kitchen is essential because I cook all the time. And I really wouldn't want a super big house because it's too much housework and dusting. Basically, we're going to set up all the homes to be like the home that I asked Brent to design for me. And I said, you may not want to put a greenhouse. You may want to put a greenhouse on the property and make sure it's locked so no one can mess with my food. It would be super cool if it was already stocked with my favorite foods like tomatoes, carrots, celery, broccoli, cauliflower, romaine lettuce. You all know what I eat because I send you my grocery cost budget that lists everything that I buy. I kind of think it might be wise to be a prepper the way this crazy world is. Also, if I'm growing my own food, may as well make it organic. I would definitely want a big freezer because I never have enough freezer space. And if I have my own greenhouse, I could get my produce from my garden, which would save me from going to the store all the time. However, if I have a big freezer, I could buy lots of bags of frozen vegetables, enough to last for a month or longer. Is it possible to set the home up with solar power in case we have a power outage? I would need plenty of kitchen cabinets. As far as television, perhaps we could have satellite. That way I'd get free internet from Church of Gail. Then with the satellite, I guess I'd have satellite TV. My mother's given me tons of clothing, so I would need large closet space. I don't like chemicals in the air, so make the home environmentally friendly. As far as flooring, I'm neutral. Wood flooring would be nice. I once had a new mobile home that the Jesuits laced with extra formaldehyde. That home made me sick. So if wood flooring would give me formaldehyde, go with something else. But make sure whatever home you set up for me, that it will be easy for me to do the Gail commandments. Maybe have a walking trail nearby or shaded streets that are nice to walk on like I have here in Melbourne. Texas gets hot in the summer, so shaded streets are a must. I decided I'd like to live in Texas, like near Kerrville. Have the home set up with a water filtration system so I don't have to buy water all the time. That would also be great in case we have a disaster because I never drink water from the faucet. Definitely would be nice to have a water filtration system in the home. That would also spare me from having to go to the store to buy gallons of water like I do now. Now, as I was telling Brent about the kind of home I'd like, we discovered just about everybody else in the world would like to have this kind of home too. So we decided to make a whole bunch of cities with homes like this. Forgot to mention that a 2-car garage would probably be nice. I've noticed that parking my car outside really ages the car fast, hastening rust and other problems. It would be nice to have a paved driveway and sidewalks nearby to lessen bringing dirt into the house as well. Also, make sure the bathrooms are easy to clean. I always wipe down the walls in the shower stall after every shower to prevent mold mildew on the walls. Too many nooks and crannies in the walls would hasten mold buildup. This is not as important as having a two-car garage, though. Cars age fast when they're parked outside and exposed to the elements. I like the idea of being self-sufficient and not so dependent on the grocery store. I'd love to only grocery shop every 3 weeks or so and still be able to eat fresh produce and have my eggs. Meat is not a problem if you have a large freezer. So Brent, you told me brain to brain that you all are constructing an entire city near Kerrville, Texas, because that's where I chose to, like where I want to retire with my husband Brent, based on the ideas I shared with you yesterday. I'll tell you what I heard. You're creating a city that will have a Walmart supercenter, a huge fish farm that grows salmon, trout, and all kinds of edible fish and seaweeds like wakame, kelp, etc. You only need one fish seaweed farm, and it will be a large constructed man-made lake, totally free of pollution, temperature controlled in different sections, so that the temperature and waters will be perfect for different kinds of fish. Some portions of it will be salt water and some fresh water. So it will be partitioned on the inside with different sections for different fish and edible seaweeds. The fish and seaweeds will be harvested and sold at the grocers and also offered for free or discounted to Church of Gail residents who live in the city. The city will be composed like a huge suburb on the outskirts of Kerrville with one farm per every 10 households. That farm will grow the foods needed for 10 families or 10 houses on its block. A farm family will run the farm, and their payment will be free housing and enough money to meet their needs. They must grow the foods, raise the meats needed for the 10 families they support. The 10 families will tell the farmer what they eat, and the farmer will grow or raise their foods or livestock. The vegetables and fruit will be grown in a greenhouse on the farm's property. The greenhouse will be capable of growing any type of vegetable or fruit that is commonly eaten by the 10 families and the farmer's family. It will be temperature controlled to have the ideal growing conditions for the family's food. The greenhouse will be set up with automatic watering and fertilizing using organic farming methods. The greenhouse will grow the most commonly eaten foods by the families. If they need something that the greenhouse doesn't provide, they can go to the Walmart supercenter down the road or any grocers in the area. The farm will also raise livestock, beef, pigs, lambs, chickens, turkeys, etc., for meat for the families. The livestock will be killed humanely so that there's minimum suffering. The livestock will be raised antibiotic and hormone free and will be like organic meat. If they desire fish, they can go to the fishery, which will sell fresh fish straight from the fish farm. Or if they desire canned fish, they can go to the Walmart or grocer in the area. The grocers in this city will be unique in that they can get most of their fresh food from within the city and sell it at the store at a great discount for this reason. They may even start their own canning to create discounted canned food made from the fisheries or livestock or produce grown in the city. The city will be set up with one small farm per 10 families and with millions of residents. That would mean there would be like 100,000 small farms in the city. 1 out of 10 residents must be full-time farmers to make the city self-sustaining and not dependent on outside resources. All farmers will have a small farm and are responsible to grow the food for their 10 families and the meats they need also. There will be a family or two that will manage the fish farm that will supply fish and seaweeds to the city. These are small farms, so they would not need large tracts of land except for perhaps the cattle, but then all they may need is 1 or 2 cows per farm family. Regarding each home's landscaping, that will depend on the owner's preference. If they prefer a desert landscape, they will have a rock garden for their yard. If they prefer a lawn, they'll have a grass lawn. Those who have lawns will have their lawns serviced by the farm family, who may use some of their tract to help grow the vegetables and fruit needed for its 10 families. So the farm family will have plenty of land for their needs. This huge city will be called Church of Gail City. It will be located in Texas Hill Country. The mail will be delivered to a Kerrville address and may be set up like it is currently in Church of Gail, where the mail gets delivered to a P.O. box in Kerrville and then forwarded to a residential address out in Church of Gail City. Church of Gail City will have a closed-door policy. No one can visit the city or live in the city unless they go through a security check or scan, just like they do when they enter the Church of Gail spaceship. Only those who are to live on Church of Gail spaceship can live in Church of Gail City in Texas. There will be a huge dome shield over Church of Gail City to try and protect it from outside threats. This shield will filter out pollution from bombs and pollutions and keep the air clean for residents. It will execute any attackers, including any planes that try to drop chemtrails and other threats to the residents. But the shield will allow sunlight to get through to sustain the many farms in the city. Basically, Church of Gail City is going to be self-sustaining in the event the U.S. becomes a victim of a major terrorist attack, so that the residents can have their needs met in a disaster. In fact, it's possible that if, let's say, the U.S. got bombed all over and it's necessary, this city could give out its foods to others around the world as needed. The medical care will continue as it has been under Church of Gail, with the local resident doctors offering their services for free to city residents. The doctors will be paid with free housing, groceries, and medical care for themselves and their families, including free prescription medications to their families. The medical care will operate using my national health care plan for the residents, except it's going to be free, and those who provide the care, the nurses, the doctors, pharmacists, will be paid with free medical care, free housing, free food, free medications. Pharmacies will be all over the Church of Gail City, who will compound and create their own medications. This will free the city from the control of big pharma and allow the medications to be sold at a greatly reduced price or even for free, with the pharmacists paid with free housing, food, medical care, etc. Those who offer the medical care, medications, etc. will also be paid a bit of a salary, enough to meet their needs, but not enough for luxury living. Due to the fact that the city is self-sustaining, we can control a lot of our costs, and it will just make it more affordable to everyone. We'll allow stores and businesses as needed by the community. For instance, we may have Burger King, sushi houses, etc. All the homes will be set up very similar to our home will be set up. I was telling Brent this. The goal of the city is to be self-sustaining so that we're not dependent on the outside world for our needs. In fact, due to evil controlling big tech, we'll even allow those who work for Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, etc., who don't like working for them because they've turned evil, to live at Church of Gail City and operate from within Church of Gail City, and we'll create our own version of Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc., and launch it from Church of Gail City using our own satellites and technology. I hear Donald Trump is breaking them up anyways because they've all turned into a big cartel. So we'll create our own Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc., minus the draconian censorship, so that people like Alex Jones will have their free speech again. Those who work for big tech and live in Church of Gail City are forbidden to violate conspiracy law as they operate Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Google, etc. from Church of Gail City, or they'll be kicked out and or executed, depending on how they have violated conspiracy law. Anyways, this Church of Gail City is going to be like a huge Israeli kibbutz and even better. And today I learned that many homeless people are joining our Church of Gail, and that there'll be farmers used to grow food and raise livestock for our cities and their families. We have a special training program for the farmers who need to specialize in small farms and small livestock and be trained more in versatility than in specialization, kind of like how people got their food in the 19th century. Trump is setting these cities all over the United States, and people really want this. They're willing to forego a luxury income in order to have this security because of free quality housing, health care, and very cheap quality food. These cities are self-sustaining and help us get out from under the control of big pharma, big tech, and the deep state, so that we no longer need China or any country for food because we're totally self-sustaining. So China could hit us with all sorts of tariffs, and it wouldn't even faze us. Like all the Church of Gail cities in Texas are going to have their own rice farms. I'd also suggest that Middle Eastern and Russian countries that set up these cities could set up oil production facilities operated by our own Church of Gail members and be set up in a way to bypass OPEC and have our own oil production facilities, making gas super cheap. We could set up our own trade between Church of Gail cities around the world and totally bypass the deep state. But our goal is mainly to make each city totally self-sustaining, so we'd only have trade between our cities for commodities that are not easily produced by each and every Church of Gail city. Also, in the event of civil war, where we might fall under martial law with supplies, power, and food cut off, these cities are designed to be self-sustaining and are an ideal setup for any country in a civil war. It's also a good way to separate the bad guys from the good guys, making it harder for Laurie McBride Jesuits to infiltrate among us and cause confusion and bloodshed among us during a civil war.